everyone, it's Saturday the 15th of October. I'm down on the allotment. It's an early start, it's about 8:30. Excuse me, it's very damp and dank, and I've just got wet feet walking down the lane to my allotment. I've just had a cup of tea. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do this morning. I might wait for it to dry out a little bit. I've got some beans to pod in the barn. I've got enough to keep me going for an hour or so. One of the things I thought I might do is plant some field beans, because one of the things I've been thinking about over the last couple of years is starting to use some green manure over the winter. Now, it's too big, the area that we've got to cover with black plastic or horticultural plastic. We've got just shy of a fifth of an acre now, and it'd be quite expensive, I think. But I have decided to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to start and use a little bit of green manure. I've just bought a kilogram of field beans, and I may cover one or two beds with black plastic. I'll start and build up a stock of horticultural plastic, because clearly you really shouldn't be leaving your beds bare with the soil exposed, because all you're doing is allowing weather to erode your soil. It's not really what nature intended. In nature, your ground's covered with weeds and flowers, you name it, it's in there, isn't it? Grass, some covers up within a matter of months. And if it's left bare, basically your soil erodes, all the micronutrients are washed out by the rain, and we've had really wet winters this last couple of years. So I'm keen to try and stop that happening. When you go to all the trouble of covering your beds with manure and spent hops, and you rotate your crops to, put nitrogen back into the soil, it's all going to be in vain if you don't cover it up. So we're going to make a start. I've just taken delivery of some field beans, and I'll show you those now, and then I'll show you later as I put them in. You can either broadcast them, just spread them about, or you can do them in rows about 10 centimetres apart between the plants and about 20 centimetres between the rows. So I'm not certain which I'll do. I'll see how many beans I've got. I've got a kilogram, which is supposedly enough for about 50 square metres. So I'll show you those now. And these are the two bags of field beans, separated by two Kit Kats. That's 11s. Each bag is a 500 gram bag. You've got the choice of buying different size bags. They start at a couple of 100 grams, and then your order can go up to 1,000 grams. So that's what we've got here, a kilogram, two 500 gram bags of field beans. And the idea is that you plant them and they take up the nutrients in the soil, and then you dig them in early in the following year, before the stalks get woody, before they bear any fruit, as it were. And then you're doing two things. You're digging back into the ground the nutrients that they've absorbed, but you're also adding nitrogen as well, because they're going to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere onto the roots, and that's going to go back in as well. Allegedly there's enough for about 50 square metres here, but we'll see. I'm going to put them on the two beds in the second allotment that I dug over last week. There's probably about, I don't know, about 8 to 10 square metres on each bed. And the beauty of these is that they're not interfering with your crop rotation. So next year we'll probably have root crops on one bed and legumes on the other. Now you could dispense with green manure, I suppose, and just put broad beans in, but they're going to be in the ground for longer, so they'd interfere if you were going to wait for the beans to come with the crops that you put in at the start of next season. So there is a cost to doing it this way, and this kilogram of field beans that I've got here cost me about £8 plus a delivery charge. So not cheap, but I'm game to give it a go and see how they perform over the winter. So they're my field beans. I'll see how many I've got. I might put them possibly on a few other areas that are going to be bare. We'll see how far we get with the manure anyway, but I'll keep these in reserve and just put them in if there are any gaps. So they're the field beans. Hi again. It's Saturday the 15th still, it's the afternoon, and I've made a start on the new allotment. I've got 3 raised beds at home in the back garden, with 3 wooden frames around them made out of tannalised decking joists, and I've decided to bring them down here. They're 8 foot by about 4 foot, I think, just about, a little bit shy of 4 foot, about 3 foot 6, and in the space where the beds currently are at home, I'm going to put the new greenhouse, the 16 foot by 8 Elite that you saw in an earlier episode when I collected it from Bury in Manchester. So I've made a start. Had to really, because you can see on the table there, my elephant garlic's arrived. Ordered 24 cloves and they kindly sent me 30, I guess, to cover the cost of postage, because it was about £4 or £5 for them to be posted, which is a nice gesture. But it means, of course, I need to get them in, and the sooner I get them in the better. So I've cleared the turf off the area where the frame's gone, and I've started to dig it. I've dug it about a foot deep, but it's really hard going. It's taken me about half an hour just to do that little bit there, and it's full of brick, coal, nails, asbestos bits from old asbestos sheeting, because they used to have pig sheds down here at one point back in the 50s, I think. So there's all kinds of rubbish in it, as you can see in the barrow. So I'm going to take my time. I'm just about to have a rest, and then you can see I'm banking it up, so it's not been double dug as such, but a foot deep's about as far as I'm going to get, I think, because it's all brick. Dig out where I can, and then when I get to the bottom, the trough at the bottom, I'll start and put manure in, because I've got a big bay full of manure, well rotten manure. So I'll layer it up with manure, and I'll bring some soil from the established allotment, and I'll show you when it's done, and then we'll get his garlic put in. Might not get the garlic in today, but I want to get this finished, and then I'll have another 2 of these to go at the side. Looks very rough at the moment, doesn't it? And then up at the top there, I'm going to put 4 large beds and higher beds, probably about 2 foot high, and they're going to be 10 foot by 5 foot beds, and I'm hoping to get 4 in from where the boundary is there, sort of up to the edge of where this frame is here. So we'll have 7 beds then. There should still be a space at the bottom here, a patch where I think I might put pumpkins, and I've left about 7 feet at the bottom here, and I'm going to put some Victoria plum down here. I've tried to put the bed a fair distance away so that it's not intruded upon by any tree roots. So we've made a start. I best get on with it now. We'll have 5 minutes first, and I'll catch you later when it's done. Well, that's it dug. I've taken 3.5 barrowfuls of rubbish out of it. Stone, coal, iron, glass, you name it, it's been in there. And I've sort of dug it back, raised it on itself, and by the time I've got some manure in there and some more soil, it'll have been dug comfortably to a depth of about 16 inch. So hopefully that'll be more than adequate for anything that I want to grow in there. So I'm just going to go empty this barrow, and then I'm going to go and start and get some manure. Catch you in a bit. And that's the first barrow muck, year-old manure. We barrowed it up probably around about January, February time, and it was from the back of the dump, so it must have been there about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, so it's probably just over a year old. So I'll get some of that in now. So I've just put 2 barrows of manure in there. I'll now dig back some of the soil up there, and I'll put a couple of barrows the manure in the middle as well, and then I'll do the same at the top. So it'll have 6 barrel loads of manure at the bottom. Right, get on with it. And that's it, the first bed finished. Dug to about 16 or 17 inch deep, maybe 18 inch. 6 barrowfuls of 1 year old horse manure on the base, on the bottom, and then soil over the top. So it's easily, I would say, 16-17 inch from the surface at the moment, but that'll settle, I would imagine, by a good couple of inch. So we're ready to get some garlic in. Take a look at the garlic now. There they are, elephant garlic cloves. I ordered 24, and I think it was about £24, so they're not cheap. But the delivery cost was about £4. They're from the garlic farm on the Isle of Wight, but they actually put in 15 cloves in each bag, and there's a bag there and a bag inside the box. So 30 cloves, and I'm going to see how many rows I can get in this bed. Probably 3 or 4, I would think. So we'll get on with that. And there they are, ready to be plunged beneath the soil. I ordered 24, 30 came, but of the 30, 2 had got signs of rot on them, so they're not going in, obviously. So I'm 4 short, but I've got some elephant garlic of my own from last year. I just did a couple of cloves, but it produced about 10 cloves once it split. So I'll bring 4 down tomorrow and complete the bed, so then there'll be 32. And you can see they're a fair old size, aren't they? They're really, really tasty, but not quite as pungent as your standard garlic. So that's the first bed on the new allotment, planted up with elephant garlic. And if we just take a look around the first allotment, see what state it's in. Just take a quick look round. A couple of elderberry bushes, they've to come out, and it's got to go from that to looking something like that. Well, looks like a tall order, but we'll give it his best shot. So that's it for today, Saturday the 15th of October. Time to go on for some tea now, it's about 6 o'clock. Catch you later. Afternoon, Sunday the 16th of October. Rained overnight and rained all morning this morning, so I've not really done anything today. I came down earlier and picked a few things, but it was just too wet. The paths have dried out now, but the soil's far too wet to do anything with it. I'm on the second allotment, and what I didn't show you was where we put the field beans. And yesterday with my cousin we raked over the start of these 2 beds here, and you can see we put a plank in the middle of each section, and then put about 5 or 6 rows of field beans to either side of the plank. And I had 2 500 gram bags, and I used one bag, and I did this section here and this, and then higher up the garden we took out the broadcast row of beans and tall peas that were here, and you can see something's been scratching there already. We turned this soil over, we left the roots in, we just chopped them and dug them over, and then we put again 5 or 6 rows at either side of the plank in the middle there. So this was the legume bed, so we've put the field beans in, and then at the start of the year, next year, we'll dig them back in. So the field beans are in. I just need to collect some more hops now for the potato bed, and then we'll cover this with manure. And I'm planning as well now, I've decided I'm going to cover this bed with black plastic. The other beds I'll put field beans in when I take those dwarf beans out at the end there. So that half of the bed will be field beans, so that's green manured. Leeks will be staying in, obviously. Parsnips and turnips, they'll be staying in, as will the Brussels sprouts. So this allotment is pretty much done. As I say, a few more spent hops and some manure, and then some plastic on this bed, and that's this allotment done. We'll have a quick look in the greenhouses. They're looking a little bit sorry for themselves, but there's still a couple of tomato plants. They'll probably all be done by the end of this week, so we take a quick look. Little greenhouse, as you can see, still to be properly tidied up. We'll have to clean the glass as well, Jace fluid it and clean it all. But I've got a couple of tomato plants still. I've got a sun gold and a zakura, and there's probably, well, certainly no more than a breakfast bowl full of tomatoes. They're still ripening. And then I've got a couple of country taste on here, and then just a final flush at the top there, the last truss of sun gold on that plant. So they're all but done really, but for the shouting, they're finished in this greenhouse now. It's mostly cleaned out. I just need to clean the glazing, as I say, give the floor a good sweep. That's the little greenhouse. Back in the big greenhouse, the second greenhouse on the allotment, and this has been pretty much cleaned out too. The couple of sweet cayenne chili peppers are still there, but they're done really. I'll take off the remaining peppers today and they'll ripen up at home next to the tomatoes. The two tomato plants left here, this is the hillbilly. This has been a real surprise really, this one. It tastes really nice. It's like a sweet peach really. It really is very sweet. And the last couple of trusses, they looked, I looked back at one of the earlier uploads, and these two here, I think I mentioned in one upload, I said, well, these two here, they're only tiny. They were about that size, the size of a golf ball. And I said, well, hopefully, I've stopped the plants now. Hopefully, these two are big enough to eat, and they'll ripen up. We should have enough time for them to ripen, and they just carried on growing. The plants have not been watered for the last month, and there's two there, and there are a couple of big ones there underneath as well, and they are big. And I took one off the other day, and that's at home ripening, and I took it off. This one's just beginning to split, so it's clear that the tomatoes are still deriving some moisture and liquid from the atmosphere, because they're still growing. It wouldn't have split otherwise. You just see a bit of a hairline crack there. So I'll probably take those two off today and take those home as well. These were the mortgage lifter, and it's quite interesting. I should have showed you this really a couple of weeks ago, because I don't know if you remember in one of the earlier updates, I treated one mortgage lifter with mycorrhizal fungi, and the other one I didn't. And the one that I didn't finished about a month ago, completely died back, and earlier this week I cut the remaining foliage off this one. It was still covered in foliage, and I've probably taken, I would say, about 3 or 4 pounds more off this in terms of ripened fruit, and these are struggling to ripen really, so I'll take those off today as well and they can go home. Sat next to the other tomatoes, they'll ripen up over the course of the next week. A couple here that you can see that are very pale green, they are not going to reach what you call the mature green stage. This feels as hard as bullets. I'm pressing on it now, there's no give or anything in there. That one's a little bit further on, that they won't ripen. So I've got about 4 or 5 on there. They're the Radiator Charlie's Mortgage Lifter, and I've got about 4 Hillbilly tomatoes. And here, I think these were the Delicious tomatoes, and jury's out as to whether or not they'll ripen. Probably not at the top there. There's about half a dozen. And I think I've got a couple here as well, actually about half a dozen. And I'm doubtful really as to whether they'll ripen. This little bunch here might do, possibly. So it's always sad really when the season ends. But it's been a good season for the tomatoes. I've got to tidy this greenhouse up now, and you can see I've put the table back in because it's safe haven again now because it's cold. The grapevine was put in at the start of the year. It's just under the table there, and I've grown 2 stems, and you can see how long it's grown. It's grown about, I don't know, about 13 or 14 feet. 2 vine stems. So that's come on okay, and hopefully next year or the year after we'll start and get some of the light pink red flame sweet grapes off that. On the table you can see I've got a bag of climbing beans here. I podded those earlier today when it was raining, and the remaining beans are here in the carry bag. They're still to be done. So that's the large greenhouse. Both need cleaning and tidying up, and then emptying of the remaining plants. But there will still be, I'll still take probably the best part of £10 of tomatoes off the 2 greenhouses, and I must have £10 still on the work surface at home. They're all finished at home in the greenhouse, but with a bit of luck, my tomatoes this year will have lasted me from the start of July right up until the end of October, which is not a bad year, is it? July, August, September, October, 4 months, and more than we could eat. We've had to give lots away, and they've won us a few prizes as well, so all in all it's been a great season. That's going to be it for today. I can't really venture onto the plot, but everything's been tidied up, all weeded. The fruit half plot, that's been weeded as well. Cut back the strawberries again, the runners that are grown on again. My cousin's planted a few flowers in the area where the daisies and asters were. I think they're Peniston. Another week or 2 of the dahlias, and then the frost will have got the better of them. They've suffered a bit this last week because it's been cold and it's rained a lot, and we've had temperatures around 1-2 degrees. No frost, but it's just a question of time. So that's it for this update. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you again for subscribing, and maybe have more to show you next time on the new allotment. Hopefully I'll have erected a few more raised beds, but for now that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.